Migration is a worldwide topic. All over the world, people move from country to country with personal reasons: economic, cultural, political, and ecological. In 2018, there were 22.3 million migrants in Europe. That's 4.4% of the European population. Of this were around 600,000 people who fled from their country, refugees. We interviewed Aboud, who fled Iraq when he was only 9 years old. He and his family are Jewish, and Jews were and are discriminated in Iraq. When the situation in Iraq turned life-threatening, Aboud and his family fled to the border, and after that, they fled to the Netherlands.
In 1971, we escaped from Baghdad via Mosul and then the Iranian border, and then we went to Tehran.
With who did you come here?
With my brother, who was 5 years younger than me, and my parents.
Why did you flee?
Because Jews were discriminated and we were having a very difficult time in Baghdad.
How did you notice that the Jews were being discriminated?
There were persecutions. Jews were hanged in the plane, and we couldn't have telephones. We couldn't have businesses. People were taken away from their houses and murdered and prosecuted.
So how life-threatening was the situation in Iraq?
Very much, because also my father was taken prison. Luckily, he was released after a day, but it was quite a tough and quite severe situation.
How long was the journey to come here?
The first part was difficult, and then so it took about 4 or 5 weeks. We stayed in Tehran till we got our papers ready, the visas, everything else, and then we came by plane.
How were you welcomed in the Netherlands? Like, how did the process go?
The Dutch government was very easygoing. They granted us the visa and the work permit very easily. So, and the Jewish community was very helpful. Joods Maatschappelijk Werk was very helpful in having us settle in the Netherlands, but also the Jewish school.
How long did it take for you to get the residence permit?
Let's say first you get the permit to stay here, to come here, so which is quite quick, 1 week. And then after that, verblijfsvergunning, as you call it, is, let's say, then after 5 years you become Dutch. So the verblijfsvergunning was very easy.
So it took 5 years to completely...
To become Dutch,
so
to get the Dutch residence, but it took 1 week, 10 days to get a entry visa to enter the Netherlands.
Do you know what the current situation in Iraq is?
For the Jews?
Yeah, for the Jews.
Yeah, there are no Jews there. There used to be about 180,000 Jews, and today there may be 2-3 Jews. Nothing else. Everybody escaped, everybody left to Israel, to America, to Netherlands not so much, but to Australia, Canada.
Luckily, Aboud and his family did not have to stay in a refugee camp when they fled. But a lot of refugees have no place to go and need to stay in a refugee camp. We interviewed Romy, who worked as a volunteer in a refugee camp in Greece.
So my name is Romy, I'm 22 years old and I'm studying European Studies in The Hague.
And where was the camp located in Greece?
So the camp was located on the Greek island Lesbos. It's a really small island and it has 2 camps actually. So the organization that I was going with was Because We Carry, and they were operating and working on the camp which was called Karatepe. And that's a camp for the more vulnerable people, so people with a disability, pregnant women, children, babies, etc. So the vulnerable people. So it's a really small camp, and it's more, well, you can compare it with Utopia, so it has really basic stuff. But it's all working out and everyone is really nice to each other and it's really calm. And then on the same, or in the same area, on the same island, you also have the camp called Moria. And well, there is the camp and there's place for 3,000 people and there are now over 30,000 people. So it's like really a lot of people compared to what the capacity of the camp. And there it's just horrible. It's really different in comparison to the camp where I was working, so Karatepe, because it's really dirty over there. You just see like all kind of animals walking over there. Yeah, a lot of waste, sick people, just yeah, horrible actually.
What was your experience at the refugee camp?
Yeah, so I went there for a week. I can say that's more than enough to stay there because you're seeing a lot of things, you're hearing a lot of stories from the refugees themselves. My experience was that it is a really, it was a really, pretty, beautiful experience that I'm going to take along through a lifetime actually.
Where did the refugees come from?
So most of them came from Syria because they crossed the Mediterranean Sea because the smugglers were in Turkey. So I would say the majority was Syrian people.
What were the reasons for refugees to flee?
So that's an interesting question because besides the fact that throughout the week, we were getting to know the refugees individually, we also did a group activity in which the volunteers, so the volunteer group I went with, and then two refugees of the camp, we were going by car to a place that's called the Life Jacket Graveyard. And it's a really, interesting place to see because, like the name is saying, it's a graveyard, but all the life jackets that were found in the sea or found somewhere on the street are putting over there. They put them over there, the authorities in Greece then. And I would say that was the first moment that I realized, okay, this situation is horrible, because then it came so close and it was almost like someone smacked me in the face, like, wake up, this is real. So in order to answer your question, we were sitting there with two refugees. They told their story. So it was mostly because war was happening in Syria and still is, or still not. It's a difficult situation. But they told us, besides the fact that there was war, they didn't spoke a lot about that. But also on they told us about their journey. So they went with a boat, like the boat you could buy in some tourist shop, like a plastic boat. They were sitting there with like between 20 or 70 people. And one of them, what touched me the most was that they said, okay, but if I'm looking to the sea right now, I could say that I'm afraid of it, that it's something that's an obstacle in life. He said, the refugee said, I actually don't ever want to look to the sea anymore because it's not something I can enjoy anymore. It's something that I'm really afraid of. Because one of them lost their mom throughout the journey from Turkey to Greece because the boat was sinking.
How was the atmosphere at the refugee camp?
I already mentioned in the interview before, this camp was for me comparable to Ethiopia. That's a really basic place, but everyone wants to help and everything works out. And that was something I could say that was also on this camp in Karatepe then. The people are really respectful to me, especially the men, because throughout the day you mostly see men because it's just it's still a cultural thing. So the women are taking care of the children, doing the laundry, etc. because that's still things that need to be done. And the men are just like throughout the camp walking, talking and drinking tea and coffee. The men, I would say, and also women are really respectful to you. They're in some kind of way, although the situation is horrible because they are stuck there, they're happy. They're really content with the things they have. But in my opinion, the European Union in its whole is really neglecting the refugees. For me as an individual to come there and to really give them the feeling, okay, you're not alone on this and I'm going to help you, and although I'm not going to give you a passport, I can't, I can give you a smile throughout the day, that little sparkle, and with all due respect, they give that to you.
What is the solution for migration?
So in my opinion, I would say that it's necessary to have a regulation or a law that entails that if there is a number of refugees, the number of refugees has to be divided over all the member states. So I would call it a relocation scheme, and not only on the capacity I would focus then, but also on economically, so the GDP, so what can we take in, then of course the capacity, and then I would also say, in order to do it in an honest way, I would say that we also look then throughout, okay, what have the Netherlands already taken in? How many refugees since 2015 have they taken in their country? And in order to take into account all those facts, I think you would create a more fair system in which all member states have the refugees that they can really facilitate. So you don't have things like Greece in this case then.
There are two things. First of all, people are coming here temporary, or people are coming here to look for a new future life. So if people are coming here temporary, then I mean they're basically escaping and hoping that things will improve and then they go back. But if people are trying to see if they have a future in the Netherlands, I think the most important thing is that to make sure that they understand the Dutch values and the Dutch culture, and to accept that they should adopt these values and cultures, and it should be part of their future DNA. And if you do not do that, then I don't believe that it makes sense, because then you endanger Dutch values and Dutch culture. There's a lot of new things you see which you do not have in your own country. And that means that you have to make sure that you are adopting that. If you don't want to, then don't come here. But it's very important. What you see today is that there's a lot of discussions going on about different cultures and different ideas, and then people are lost. What are the Dutch values? What is the Dutch culture? What's the background of what we expect people to adopt when they basically come here?
In our opinion, the way we should handle migration is to take in people who are in danger in their native country. We live in a peaceful, well-functioning country, and not everyone can say that. Because of this, we should also be able to help those in need. Of course, we need rules, so it won't be to the expense of our own nation. We need a strict policy with strict requirements, and since we don't have unlimited space, we will also need rules about the quantity. This way, the people won't become a burden and at the same time get a chance of a happy life.